My name is Dane Cunningham. I'm a retired law enforcement official from DeKalb County, which is a suburb just east of Atlanta. When I retired from law enforcement, I basically retired to the Dominican Republic, and I've been living here ever since. Before I decided to move to the Dominican Republic, it was approximately 5 years. I just decided to travel basically throughout Latin American countries. There's something about Latin American countries as far as the traditional values, as far as the language, as far as the customs. So basically I traveled to about 10 different Latin American countries to include Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Costa Rica, Honduras, Mexico, El Salvador, Ecuador, a few other countries. But it was the Dominican Republic that kind of got my heart. It kind of made me feel more connected. I like to compare it to dating several women before you decide to make a commitment. It was that Dominican Republic just had that sense of connection for me. And since it had that sense of connection for me, I made a commitment. And I've been living in the Puerto Plata area for, like I said, approximately 7 years. When I first moved here, I lived right outside of Sosua. I lived in an area called Los Cerros. It's maybe about 15, 20 minutes outside of Sosua. Unfortunately, when I went back home on one of my return trips to the United States, when I came back, I discovered my apartment was burglarized. And for those of you who've ever had your apartment burglarized, you know it's a feeling of like you've been assaulted. So from that point, I decided to move to Puerto Plata, and I've been living in Puerto Plata ever since. I enjoy living in Puerto Plata because it's a mid-sized community. I live about 5 minutes from the beach. Almost everything that you need is in Puerto Plata, and the things that you don't have available to you in Puerto Plata, like the larger malls and the larger retail establishments, it's easy for you to go to Santiago, or you can come to Santo Domingo to have those experiences, to do those shopping, or to go to restaurants, or to participate in entertainment that's not available in Puerto Plata. For me, Puerto Plata is sort of a good base. But from time to time, once you've been living there for a while, you discover that it's like anything, you can get bored with it. It can become mundane and routine. And from that, basically, I've traveled throughout the entire country. I've been to Mao, I've been to Bonao, Las Terrenas, Montecristi. I've been to, of course, Santiago, Santo Domingo. Recently, I've been on these excursions when I've been exploring some of the waterfalls that exist in the country. The Dominican Republic is very, very famous for its beaches, but a lot of times people don't recognize how important the mountain ranges are. They don't realize how important the waterfalls are. So there's such diversity in the country, from what's urban to small towns to the beaches to the mountains to the waterfalls. It supplies enough diversity that I think there's something here for anybody who really decides that they want to retire to the Dominican Republic. So for those who have come here frequently, or for those who have lived here, there are certain cultural differences that are distinctly different from the United States. This is going to be a generalization, and I don't mean to be too broad, but it's just a generalization. What I've noticed in the United States is it's more of a mindset of feminism. And when I say feminism, I don't mean it in the third wave sense, in a negative sense. I mean in the equality between men and women. Basically, oftentimes, women are socially and economically equal to men under many circumstances, because there are many, many more opportunities for education and for employment. But in Dominican Republic, it's not a feminist country, it's more of a machisto culture, which in the machisto culture, basically the man is superior and the man has authority over the woman. Now that can be positive in terms of the man providing for the woman, and it also can be negative in terms of men taking advantage of the woman. But the point is that It's a totally different mindset. So if you're single and you come here, you have to have a mindset where you're prepared to deal with the fact that there is a sense of what I would call codependence. I think in every society you have people who are independent, which basically means they don't need anything from anybody. You have those who are codependent, those people who basically just need a little bit of help. And then you have those people who are totally dependent. And in the Dominican Republic, it is not uncommon to meet adults who are totally dependent on help from outside, and it's not uncommon to meet women who are totally dependent. So I think that was probably one of the biggest learning curves that I had to deal with, that I had to change my mindset to a more traditional mindset where the man had primary responsibility for providing and there was less of an equal footing between men and women. But I feel like once you really master that and once you understand that, then you can make the transition. Of course, there's the language barrier. You can study Castellano, which is the Spanish of Spain, but a lot of Dominicans don't necessarily speak the Spanish of Spain fluently. So therefore, you can study Castellano, but whether you study Dominican Spanish. So in essence, your challenge will be, you just don't have to learn the correct way to speak Spanish. You have to learn how to speak Dominican Spanish, because you don't know what type of person that you're going to be meeting or what their socioeconomic status will be. And depending on their socioeconomic status will depend on how they speak Spanish and how they communicate with you. So basically, it's a situation where you have to be humble, you have to be open, you have to almost accept the fact it's almost like you're a child. You have to learn how to speak again, you have to learn how to drive again, you have to reprogram your thought process. You just have to learn how to do things the Dominican way and not try to do things the American way, because you have to remember you're not in the United States, you're in the Dominican Republic. Well, I would first try to study as much as I can about the Dominican Republic. Study its history, study the current events that are going on in the Dominican Republic. For example, within certain parts of Dominican culture, there's a little bit of enmity between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. It will help if you understand the reasons for that. Not just studying the history of the Dominican Republic, but speak to other people who've either traveled to the Dominican Republic on a regular basis or people who actually live in the Dominican Republic. Not necessarily to take their advice verbatim, but to take bits and pieces that you will be able to use going forward. The other piece of advice that I would give is you have to have a sense of purpose. Why are you coming? Are you coming to retire? Are you coming to work? Are you coming to volunteer? Are you coming looking for a relationship? Because I think what happens is you'll be able to take direction based on what your purpose is. Obviously, if your primary focus is to be a volunteer and you help those people who are less fortunate than you, your focus might not be necessarily establishing a relationship. Or if your focus is, for example, you like fishing or you like golfing and that becomes your primary focus, then that's where you're going to receive most of your enjoyment. That's where you're going to receive most of your pleasure. So one of the things that I would say is have a clear sense of purpose when you come here. And then when you arrive, you just line up all your activities with your sense of purpose. And I think that is a way in which you can have great success.
Remember, subscribe to Wdrc en Santo Domingo. Ya sabes.